Well, hi there. Warm welcome. You watching Blueprine Explosive Exclusive, and I'm Meghna Deka. Well, it appears that this is India's tech landscape, which has always been a bit of a battlefield, if you may. A fierce, high-stakes arena where only the strongest thrive. For decades now, Bengaluru has reigned supreme, earning its crown as the Silicon Valley of India. But wait, the winds of change are here. What we are getting for you is the great corporate escape. Who's pressing the escape button and where are they headed? Or is Bangalore comfortably clinging on to its crown? Well, there are cities, after all, like Hyderabad, Visakhapatnam. They are rising at an unprecedented pace, building world-class tech hubs. These cities are now also attracting global giants and challenging Bengaluru's long-standing dominance. Tonight, we'll take you inside this epic race, exploring just how these cities are not just catching up, but they are giving India's tech capital a run for its money, and quite literally at that. We'll tell you about the political wars that are being fought over who's Silicon Valley's star in India. Let's tell you all about it. Well, all of this began when there were reports which emerged of tech companies shifting from southern Bengaluru to the northern parts of the city. Which are these? In fact, let's tell you all about it. You have ORR in south, which many of the tech giants such as Blackbucks, for example, Wipro have also raised concerns over as to how there are potholes, how there are unending jams, how there is dust, how there is pollution, and infrastructure is crumbling, which is why we've seen the great migration. The great migration to the north of Bengaluru. Let's tell you a bit about what really is building up in north of Bengaluru. Well, you have Infosys, for example, in Northgate Business Park. Then you have several others. For example, you have Collins Aerospace in Northgate Business Park. Then you have Amazon at Satwa Horizon, which has been coming up. It is Philips, which is there in the Embassy Business Hub. Then you have Boeing, which has set up shop near Kempegowda Airport. Another one at Kempegowda Airport is there, along with several others. TCS is there at Satwa Knowledge Point as well. So these are just some of the biggies who are there who have now headed, instead of staying at ORR, which is the outer ring road in Bengaluru, they are preferring north of Bengaluru. But we'll tell you how this report has sparked off a massive political row. Because there you have it. Let's tell you what has happened between Nara Lokesh and Priyank Kharge, the two IT ministers, one from Andhra Pradesh and one from Karnataka. Well, this development led to this war of words. You had Nara Lokesh facing off with Priyank Kharge on social media posts. So what is it that they had said? Well, you had Nara Lokesh, who first came up quoting this great migration to the north, saying slightly more north is Anantapur, of course, which is in Andhra Pradesh. Saying slightly more north is Anantapur, where we are building a world-class aerospace and defense ecosystem, rolling out the red carpet. And then you have Priyank Kharge, who is the Karnataka IT minister, facing off with the Andhra IT minister, to which Priyank Kharge has replied, saying it is natural for weaker ecosystems to feed off the stronger ones. Of course, taking a jibe directly at Nara Lokesh and Andhra Pradesh, saying when it's desperate scavenging, it shows more weakness than strength. What's an organism that derives nutrients at others' expense? Calling it a parasite. In fact, you also have Priyank Kharge, who backed up his statements, saying that Andhra Pradesh is just scavenging for corporates from Karnataka. Priyank Kharge has put up a series of compelling statistics that aims to showcase Bengaluru's unmatched growth and dominance. Well, this is what Priyank Kharge has said, that the GDP projection of Bengaluru is 8.5% until 2035. That's huge. It is now the fastest growing city in the world. The property market is rising at 5% in 2025. The global agglomeration is that of 14.4 million people in 2025, which is a growth of 2.7% annually. Also, Priyank Kharge has pointed out that in Bengaluru, you have migrant absorption, which is one of the highest in India, the maximum number of migrants who have settled in Bengaluru. So let's take a quick look at the top 5 most business-friendly cities in India, because at the end of it, when we see politicians fighting, it's important that we sift through all this political rhetoric, get you the facts, and we will only rely on facts and data and surveys which have been done extensively so that we have a clearer picture as to who really deserves the IT crown of India. Well, these are the top 5 business-friendly cities of India, and trust me, some of these rankings may just surprise you. At the number 1 spot, well, it's not Delhi, it's not Mumbai, it's Hyderabad, which comes in first. At second, you have Ahmedabad. Who would have seen that coming? Only at number 3 do we have Bengaluru. There are, of course, lots of variables in there. One of those are the fact that Delhi and Mumbai are overcrowded, they are saturated, which is why there are others who are also moving to tier 2 cities, such as Indore, which comes in at number 4. Then you have Pune coming at number 5, because ease of doing business ranking says that this is how all these 5 cities really rank up and place up against each other. So what really makes cities such as Hyderabad, or Vizag and Bengaluru battle for the IT crown? Let's take a look at some of the biggest major tech giants which are already home to these cities. For example, Microsoft, Infosys, Mindtree, HCL Tech. These are all home to, they all have come home to roost in Bengaluru. Hyderabad, meanwhile, also boasts of some of the biggest corporate giants, be it Google, Amazon, Meta, InnoMinds. All of these are there in Hyderabad. But why is that? Now, this is an interesting city for you to watch out for. It may not be there as a tier 1 city, but it is fast catching up. Why? Because look at some of the names that Vizag has. Wipro, Tech Mahindra, Conduent, Symbiosis, all of them have big offices in Vizag as well. Of course, they are there in Bengaluru as well as Hyderabad as well. But why is it that many of them prefer and also want space in Vizag? Well, let's look at Bengaluru. Bengaluru, long hailed as India's Silicon Valley, may be starting to lose some of the hard-earned prestige. But why do the numbers actually reveal about the city's position in the tech space? Well, let's tell you. When it comes to Bengaluru, 36% of India's global capability centers are there in Bengaluru. When we look at startups, however, the startup funding is down by 24%, and that's something for us not to forget. Let's look at Hyderabad. Hyderabad has 45% of India's high-tech sector. But look at the startup funding. In Hyderabad, it's the highest. The funding in startups has gone up by 160%. Look at Vizag. Now, this is an interesting one that I was telling you about. 25 to 30% cost advantage when it comes to talent acquisition, because it's cheaper in Vizag. They're just as talented. There's also 50% lower real estate costs. You get bigger spaces for the same amount of money. It also, Vizag, interestingly, also Visakhapatnam, interestingly has 250 plus tech firms and 1,120 homegrown startup funds. It's also now emerging as the hub of innovation. So let's now dive into Hyderabad, explore why this city might just be stealing Bengaluru's thunder and why it could be on the way to claiming the IT crown itself. Well, in Bengaluru, what are the problems and what really are the problems when it comes to Hyderabad? We are going to be comparing the two of them. Bengaluru has poor infra and road connectivity. Hyderabad gives hassle-free movement, which is what many of the corporates really want. Then Bengaluru has overpriced real estate. Cost-effective real estate, however, is there in Hyderabad, and of course cities such as Vizag as well. Bengaluru has traffic congestion and potholes. When it comes to Hyderabad, moving traffic and less potholes is what this city really offers. Then you have less GCGs, delivery setups, which are there in Bengaluru. And when it comes to Hyderabad, it has surpassed Bengaluru in GCC delivery setups as well. Poor planning of IT corridors is, of course, something that all of us know that Bengaluru has been in the headlines for. But when it comes to Hyderabad, it's an integrated office campus infrastructure that it boosts off. So now, viewers, The battle for India's IT crown, of course, all of that has been intensifying. Competition shows that there is no signs of letting up anytime soon. There are cities which are racing to attract the biggest tech giants and the biggest talent as well. So let's tell you about what really are the battles in the country's tech landscape really looking at. For example, when it came to the HAL facility, remember, Andhra Pradesh proposed a new greenfield facility for HAL. Karnataka dismissed the reports that no, they are not going to be relocating. Then came the JSW land deal. Karnataka sells about 3,000 acres of land to JSW in Bellary. This land allegedly was being sold at cheaper rates because there was so much of competition between different states. Then you have the establishment of IITM. There was competition amongst 4 big southern states. The one who clinched the IIT crown was incidentally Madras. Of course, now Chennai, IIT Madras was established. Then, of course, the much talked about Black Buck. Well, this company said that it wanted to shift out of ORR in Bengaluru. However, shifted to another location in Bengaluru, just left the outer ring road. Of course, at the time, you had Andhra Pradesh's Nara Lokesh coming out, wooing them to shift to Vizag as well. So let's discuss the kind of fights that we have seen. Joining us today on the show, we have Professor Jyothsna Tirunagari, the national spokesperson of TDP. Also, there is Syed Asad Abbas, who's joining us, a political analyst. So first, I'm going to come across to Professor Tirunagari. How would you like to respond to the fact that you have the IT Minister of Karnataka calling Andhra Pradesh and its startup ecosystem, its tech parks, as scavenger ecosystem?
That shows their maturity, that shows their, I would say, if they call themselves politicians, if they call themselves ministers of a state, then that shows who they are. See, again, let me put it very clearly here. All of us are Indians. All of us are Indians. And definitely, the place where I belong to, I definitely want my place to flourish a little better than the other places, because if my place flourishes, obviously my country also flourishes.
Absolutely.
That's what I think. Anybody thinks like that. And so, in the entire conversation, have you ever seen, Meghna, that there is a single word from our minister which is demeaning Bengaluru, or which is probably demeaning their ministers or anything like that? Have you ever seen a single statement from him? We are just portraying what we have. We are a budding state. We are a sunrise state. We want to flourish because we have seen 5 literally destructive years from 2019 to 24. The then government was literally destructive in nature. They have thrown off companies from the state. So we want to bring back companies to the state. We want to give youth more employment opportunities in our state. We want the state's GDP to go up. We want the state economy to go up. We want everybody in the state to flourish. By that, by that, obviously the country flourishes. Now, we are not scavenging. That if they use that term, that's again, I would say that's their immaturity and that's their illiteracy. I would want to put it very, very shrewdly and cruelly here. I am saying this because for me, all my Kannadiga, friends or Kannadiga citizens are my fellow mates, are my fellow citizens. If they flourish, I'll also flourish.
Well, that's a very mature reaction that you have given. Syed Asad Abbas, is that a sign of frustration, a sign of jitteriness which is creeping into Bengaluru, to Karnataka, perhaps the whole state, when you have your own IT minister coming out and saying that these are scavenger states? Are you actually scared of Telangana, scared of Andhra Pradesh and their IT hubs overtaking you?
Firstly, Meghna, let me clarify, this comparison that you've shown between Bengaluru and Hyderabad, both are ruled by Congress party, and Hyderabad in Telangana is ruled by Congress party under Revanth Reddy and has nothing to do with TDP. So therefore, both are Congress ruled states. So if Hyderabad is doing better, great luck with that. Now coming to the point.
But Syed Asad Abbas, does it only have to be a Congress ruled or a BJP ruled or a TDP ruled? That's exactly what we had Professor Tirunagari also saying, that it doesn't matter. Why should it matter whether it's the reason? And let me be honest about it. Reason I'm not bringing in Vizag, because in most of the parameters, it's right now budding. Most of the parameters, we do not have an accurate count. And also, since the state was split, it's hard to come up with these statistics which are head to head. Now go ahead, Syed Asad Abbas.
Just allow me just 2 minutes time, please, to articulate my point. Also, the spokesperson from TDP needs to know that it is Nara Lokesh who started these jibes on X, formerly Twitter, and it isn't Priyank Kharge. Now, let me quickly give some statistics and figures and facts to the ma'am present here. Ma'am, are you even aware that Karnataka is the second largest contributor of the GDP of the nation? Not just that, the Karnataka state GDP has grown by 7.4%. Agriculture witnessed a growth of 4%. State GDP has outpaced the national growth by 6.2%. And now, ma'am, that we are beating so much on Bengaluru, let me give you some fact. Bengaluru's GDP is projected to grow at a significant rate of 8.45% by 2035. It is also being positioned as the world's growing city. As a matter of fact, Pradhan Mantri Modi ji has several times mentioned that Bengaluru is a startup hub and a pride of India. Now, let me just complete my point. Not just that, the Bengaluru's property market will rise by 5%. It has actually risen just in 2025 alone. And we are set to outpace global counterparts in terms of urbanization, economic growth and innovation. Now let me come to the point. Bengaluru does not need to compete with Mumbai, Hyderabad, Delhi or even a Vizag. Bengaluru is competing with Tokyo, London, New York, Dubai. That is the ranking of a Bengaluru.
That's very interesting because there was a time when Mumbai, Delhi were the hubs. Bengaluru was the startup. I'm running out of time. In all fairness, I've given you enough time. Don't tell me that I haven't. Professor Tirunagari, I need to give her 30 seconds because you made very direct charges. Let her answer. Let her answer on behalf of Andhra.
Meghna, not again. I reiterate myself. I have not demeaned Bengaluru or Karnataka.
Fair enough. She hasn't. And nor has Nara Lokesh.
But yes, that's what I'm saying. Even when Priyank Kharge ji was very, I would say immature in his talks on Twitter, Nara Lokesh, you can, in fact, I don't have the time because you said only 30 seconds. So you can go through his Twitter post, not a single statement against Bengaluru or not a single statement against Kharge. That is how mature.
Syed Asad Abbas, 10 seconds you have. Why politicize it? Let's all thrive together. Why politicize it? Are you scared? Are you nervous? Calling someone a scavenger state, calling a tech hub a scavenger tech hub.
Meghna ji and Jyothsna ji, India loves two things, Bollywood and cricket. So therefore, with folded hands, I'd like to request the both of you and Nara Lokesh especially to go watch the movie Chak De India, where Shah Rukh says, I do not hear the state's name. I only hear one name and that is India. So therefore, stop competing with Bengaluru. Stop competing because it's Congress. Competing with world city.
I think that's exactly, we are completely out of time, but I believe Syed Asad Abbas, that's exactly what Professor Tirunagari had started off with. So it's interesting that we have both the guests on the same plane on that. Let's not vie against each other. Let's fight together. Perhaps words like scavenger could be left out of the political discourse because when it comes to the DTP, at the end of it, it is going to be India's gain and hopefully at the while competing with the other global hubs as well. We are out of time. Thank you so much, Professor Jyothsna Tirunagari, for joining us, as well as Syed Asad Abbas, as always. Without a short break, don't go anywhere.